This 3-minute trick will destroy procrastination for good. Tested and proven. 5 years ago, I was drowning. Not in water, but in unfinished tasks, missed deadlines, and that gut-wrenching feeling of knowing I was capable of so much more. My desk was buried under half-completed projects. My phone was filled with unanswered messages. My brain was constantly foggy with anxiety about all the things I should be doing instead of what I was actually doing, which was usually scrolling mindlessly through social media, promising myself I'd start in just 5 more minutes. Sound familiar? I bet it does. Because procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's an epidemic. Studies show that between 80% and 95% of students procrastinate regularly, and I'd wager the numbers aren't much better for working adults. We're all suffering from this invisible parasite that feeds on our potential and leaves behind nothing but stress, guilt, and missed opportunities. I desperately searched for a silver bullet, trying every complex system and expensive tool imaginable. What I found was astonishingly simple. But what if I told you there's a ridiculously simple trick, so simple you might actually laugh when you hear it, that could break this cycle forever? A method so powerful that psychology researchers found 98% of people who try it continue working past the initial starting point? A technique that transformed me from a chronic procrastinator into someone who actually finishes what they start. I'm talking about the 3-minute rule. And no, this isn't some complicated productivity system that requires special apps or equipment. It's something you can start using literally seconds after this video ends. Here's what happened. After trying everything, I mean everything, to cure my procrastination, fancy planners, blocking websites, accountability partners, even paying people to slap me if I didn't meet deadlines. Yes, that's a real service. I stumbled across this method in an obscure psychology journal. The concept was so deceptively simple that I almost dismissed it. This can't possibly work, I thought. If the solution were this easy, everyone would be doing it. But I was desperate, so I decided to test it on the task I'd been avoiding the most, writing the first chapter of a book I'd been planning to write for 3 years. The sheer thought of it was paralyzing. Every time I considered it, my brain would immediately conjure 14 other urgent things I needed to do instead. So here's what I did. I told myself I would work on the chapter for exactly 3 minutes, not a second more, just 180 seconds of effort, and then I could walk away guilt-free. Anyone can do anything for 3 minutes, I reasoned. And here's the wild part. I didn't stop after 3 minutes. Not even close. I wrote for 2 hours straight, producing more in that single session than I had in the previous 3 months of trying to start. It felt like magic. But it wasn't magic. It was psychology. You see, procrastination isn't actually about laziness. That's the biggest misconception. It's about our emotional relationship with the task. We procrastinate when tasks trigger negative emotions, anxiety, fear of failure, perfectionism, overwhelm, or simply the discomfort of effort. When we tell ourselves we need to complete a big task, our brain immediately calculates all the effort, time, and potential for failure wrapped up in that task. It's like looking at Mount Everest from the bottom. The summit seems impossible, so why even start the climb? Our brain is actually trying to protect us from disappointment by steering us toward immediate gratification instead. But the 3-minute rule completely short-circuits this process. It makes the mental mountain look like a small, manageable hill. Just 3 minutes doesn't trigger the same fear response. It's so easy that your brain's defense mechanisms don't even activate. There's no reason to avoid something that only takes 180 seconds. The magic happens because of what psychologists call behavioral activation. Once you're in motion, staying in motion becomes much easier. It's like the difference between pushing a car from a standstill versus pushing it after it's already rolling. The initial resistance is the hardest part. After my first success with the book chapter, I started applying the 3-minute rule to everything. That tax form I'd been avoiding? Just 3 minutes. The email to that important client I was nervous about? Just 3 minutes. Cleaning out that horrifyingly disorganized closet? You guessed it. Just 3 minutes. And here's what consistently happened. About 90% of the time, I continued far beyond the 3-minute mark. The tasks that had seemed so intimidating became surprisingly engaging once I was actually doing them. The anticipation of discomfort was far worse than the actual experience. But wait, I know what you're thinking. Some tasks really do take hours or days or weeks. How can pretending they take 3 minutes help with that? You might think, sure, it worked for your writing, but what about a massive, complex project? That's exactly what my friend Alex said when I told him about this method. Alex was a brilliant programmer who had been almost finished with his app for about 2 years, trapped in a cycle of just a few more weeks to perfect it. Classic perfectionism-fueled procrastination. I challenged him to try the 3-minute rule. Just open your coding environment and work on one tiny feature for 3 minutes, I said. If you still don't feel like continuing after that, you can stop with zero guilt. He texted me 4 hours later. I hate you, and I love you at the same time. I just fixed 3 major bugs I've been avoiding for months. Why does this stupid trick work so well? It works because it addresses the root causes of procrastination rather than just the symptoms. Remember how I mentioned that procrastination is emotional, not logical? The 3-minute rule works on precisely this emotional level. It removes the pressure of completion, the fear of failure, and the overwhelming sensation of too much to do. Research confirms this. In one study, researchers found that when people used the 3-minute rule, an astounding 90% of them continued working beyond the initial 3 minutes. Compare that to the more well-known Pomodoro technique with its 25-minute work intervals, which many people find too daunting to even begin. But there's a crucial detail I need to emphasize. A linchpin for its success. You must genuinely give yourself permission to stop after 3 minutes. This isn't a mind game where you secretly expect yourself to continue. That expectation reintroduces all the pressure and resistance. You have to mean it when you say, just 3 minutes, or your brain will catch on to the deception and the method loses its effectiveness. I learned this the hard way when I tried to manipulate myself. I'll just trick myself into starting, and of course I'll keep going, I thought. But my brain is smarter than that. I felt the resistance come right back. The honest approach works best. 3 minutes is all I'm committing to. Anything beyond that is a bonus. Now, let me address another objection that might be forming in your mind. But some tasks are just genuinely unpleasant. No amount of starting will make them enjoyable. Fair point. The 3-minute rule isn't about making every task a delightful experience. Some things, like scrubbing the toilet or doing your taxes, might never be fun. But here's the thing. The rule still works because it minimizes the dread factor. Even with inherently unpleasant tasks, the anticipation is usually worse than the reality. And breaking the seal of resistance with just 3 minutes often leads to a, well, I might as well finish now that I've started mentality. I discovered another unexpected benefit. The 3-minute rule made me better at estimating how long tasks actually take. Like most procrastinators, I was terrible at this. In my mind, responding to emails would take hours. Organizing my files would take all day, and writing a report would take weeks. But when I started actually timing these tasks, I was shocked. Many of the things I'd been avoiding took far less time than I'd imagined. That dreaded email response? 8 minutes. Organizing my digital files? 40 minutes. Not the full day I'd anticipated. This phenomenon has a name, the planning fallacy. And research shows that about 70% of students finish assignments later than they predicted. And if you're facing something truly monumental, a task that feels like it could swallow you whole, like a PhD dissertation, this next story is for you. Last year, I was coaching a PhD student who had been stuck on her dissertation for months, her days filled with avoidance tactics. I gave her a challenge. Set a timer for just 3 minutes of dissertation work, first thing in the morning, before checking her phone or email. She was skeptical, but agreed to try. 2 weeks later, she called me in tears, but they were tears of relief and joy. I've written more in the past 2 weeks than in the previous 3 months, she told me. And the weird part is, I'm actually enjoying it now. The 3 minutes almost always turns into an hour or two, and I'm not even forcing myself. Once I start, I genuinely want to continue. This is the most beautiful aspect of the 3-minute rule. It doesn't just help you become more productive. It can actually transform your relationship with the tasks themselves. By removing the pressure and resistance, you create space to potentially discover engagement and even enjoyment in activities you previously dreaded. Now that you have the core principle, what if I told you there are 3 ways to make this simple rule even more potent? Techniques most people overlook. First, combine it with environment preparation. Before your 3 minutes begin, make sure everything you need is ready to go. If you're writing, have your document open. If you're exercising, have your workout clothes laid out. This removes any friction that might give your procrastination foothold. Second, use visual tracking. Keep a simple calendar or chart where you mark each day you use the 3-minute rule. The growing chain of successes becomes motivating in itself. You won't want to break the streak. Third, pair it with the if-then technique. Research from implementation intention studies shows that deciding ahead of time exactly when and where you'll do something drastically increases follow-through. So rather than, I'll use the 3-minute rule on my project today, specify after I finish breakfast, I'll spend 3 minutes on the project report. This precision eliminates the decision fatigue that can lead to procrastination. I want to be completely honest with you. The 3-minute rule isn't a magic bullet that will instantly transform you into a productivity machine. Some days, you genuinely might only work for 3 minutes and then stop. And that's okay. That's still 3 minutes more progress than you would have made otherwise. The true power of this approach is that it gets you moving when standing still is the real enemy. As author James Clear points out in his book Atomic Habits, motion creates emotion. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. I still use the 3-minute rule almost every day, 5 years after discovering it. Just yesterday, I had a video script I needed to write. Ironically, not this one. I was excited about this topic. I'd been putting it off all week. So I set my timer for 3 minutes and started typing. 45 minutes later, I had a completed first draft. The feeling of accomplishment, of finally breaking through that wall of resistance, is incredible. It's like a weight lifting off your shoulders, a fog clearing from your mind. And the best part? This simple technique is available to you right now. You don't need to buy anything, download anything, or sign up for anything. All you need to do is pick that one task you've been avoiding, set a timer for 3 minutes, and begin. That's it. Just 3 minutes. I promise it will be one of the most powerful 3-minute investments you'll ever make. And remember, you're not committing to finishing the task. You're not even committing to making significant progress. You're just committing to 3 minutes of action. Anyone can do anything for 3 minutes. So what will your first 3-minute task be? The report you've been dreading? The workout you've been postponing? The conversation you've been avoiding? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear how this technique works for you. Drop a comment below with your experience or questions. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might be struggling with procrastination. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful. And this 3-minute trick might just be the thing that finally breaks someone's procrastination cycle for good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to use my 3-minute rule to finally tackle that pile of laundry that's been staring at me all week. Because even productivity experts aren't perfect. We just have better tools for dealing with our imperfections. See you in the next video.